Many of you come here seeking techniques, methods, and formulas to manifest your desires. You believe that through effort and struggle, you can bring your dreams into being. But I tell you this, what you seek is already yours. The state you wish to occupy already exists, completed and perfect, waiting only for your conscious acceptance of it. Before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. This promise from Scripture reveals the great secret. The answer precedes the call. Your desire, be it for wealth, love, health, or success, already exists as a living reality in the fourth dimensional world. Your work is not to make it real, but to appropriate it through the wonderful human imagination. Let me explain what I mean. We live in a world of three dimensions, length, width, and height, and we move through the fourth dimension of time. But time, as you experience it sequentially, is merely a concept created by your consciousness. In truth, all moments past, present, and future exist simultaneously in an eternal now. The future state you desire is not something to be created. It already is. When you say, I want to be wealthy, or I want to be healthy, or I want to be loved, you are acknowledging that these states exist separate from you. You place them in an imaginary future, believing you must journey through time to reach them. But I tell you, these states are present now, and you can step into them immediately through the power of your imagination. Consider this, every state of consciousness exists as a living reality. These states are like rooms in a vast mansion of being. You currently occupy one room, your present state of consciousness. But all other rooms, all other states exist simultaneously. Your journey is not one of creation, but of selection and occupation. The Bible tells us, in my Father's house are many mansions. These mansions are not physical dwellings in some distant heaven, but states of consciousness available to you now. Your Father's house is your own wonderful human imagination, and within it are infinite states you may occupy. Tonight, I challenge you to stop striving to make your desires real through effort and anxious labor. Instead, I invite you to relax and receive what is already yours. How do you do this? Through the art of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. If you were now the person you wish to be, how would you feel? If you possess now what you desire to possess, what would be your reaction? By capturing and maintaining this feeling, you make your desired future your present reality. Many years ago, a man came to me in desperate circumstances. He was financially ruined, estranged from his family, living in a small room with barely enough to eat. He had tried everything, worked hard, sought help from others, even prayed in the conventional sense, but nothing had changed. I asked him, if things were different, what would be the first thing you would do? After a moment's reflection, he said, I would call my daughter. Before everything fell apart, we spoke every Sunday evening at 6 o'clock. That's what I miss most. I told him tonight, at 6 o'clock, sit quietly in your room, close your eyes, and imagine your telephone ringing. Hear it clearly. Now imagine picking up the receiver and hearing your daughter's voice. Hear her telling you she's been thinking about you and wanted to resume your Sunday calls. Feel the joy of reconnection. Feel the naturalness of the conversation, as though your separation had never occurred. Do this with complete faith that what you are experiencing in the imagination is a present reality. The man followed my instructions, and 3 days later, at 6 in the evening, his telephone rang. It was his daughter speaking almost the exact words he had heard in his imagination. Within a month, their relationship was fully restored, and through a series of events that seemed miraculous, but were in fact lawful, his financial situation reversed completely. What happened? Did this man create a new reality? No, he simply stepped into a state, a mansion that already existed. He relaxed his conscious resistance and received what was already his. Many of you struggle because you are trying to make something happen. You push your plans to the limit. You push your plan, you worry, and you work all to bring about what already exists. Your anxiety and effort actually prevent you from receiving your desire, for they affirm its absence rather than its presence. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. These words invite you to cease your struggle and enter the Sabbath of consciousness where all is complete. The Sabbath is not a day of the week, but a state of consciousness where you rest from your lacrosse. The creative process is finished. All states exist. Your task is to select the state that corresponds to your desire and enter it consciously through imagination. Having entered, you rest in the conviction that what you are experiencing imaginatively is now a fact in your world. This brings us to an important point. The feeling of your wish fulfilled must become your dominant feeling. It is not enough to imagine once and then return to your former state of consciousness. You must persist in the new state until it becomes your natural dwelling place. Consider a room filled with the fragrance of roses. When you enter, you are immediately aware of the scent, but remain there long enough and you no longer notice it, not because it has diminished, but because you have become one with it. So it is with a new state of consciousness. At first, it feels strange, even unnatural, but persistent soon it becomes your new normal, and the outer world reshapes itself to match your inner assumption. Now many ask me, how long must I persist before my desire becomes manifest in the three-dimensional world? This question itself reveals a misunderstanding, for it places the fulfillment in time rather than in consciousness. The outer manifestation is not the fulfillment. The inner assumption is the fulfillment. When you truly assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are already in possession of what you desire. Its appearance in time is merely the shadow following the substance. Nevertheless, I understand the practical nature of your question. The time it takes for the outer manifestation to appear depends on two factors: the naturalness of the state to you and the implications involved in the state. By naturalness, I mean how readily you can feel the state to be your present reality without contradiction or doubt. Some states feel closer to your current consciousness than others. A modest increase in income might feel more natural than sudden wealth. Perfect health might feel more accessible than growing a new limb. The more natural the state feels, the more readily it manifests. By implications, I mean the countless adjustments in your world that must occur for your assumption to become a fact. For one person to receive a specific job, certain people must make specific decisions. Paperwork must be processed. Perhaps someone else must vacate the position. These are the bridging incidents that must occur, and they unfold in their own time and sequence. But here is the wonderful truth. You need not concern yourself with these implications or how they will unfold. Your task is simply to maintain the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. The infinite intelligence within you, your own wonderful I am, knows exactly how to bring about the conditions necessary for the outer realization of your assumption. I am the way. This statement from Scripture reveals that your consciousness of being your I am is the path to fulfillment. When you say I am, you are declaring your essential being. Whatever follows those two words becomes your reality. Most people complete this statement unconsciously saying in effect, I am poor, I am unlucky, I am unwanted, and so they remain. But you can consciously choose what follows I am. When you declare I am wealthy, I am healthy, I am loved, you are selecting a state of consciousness. Persist in these declarations not as affirmations spoken with the lips, but as assumptions felt with the whole being, and you will transform your world. Let me share another experience. A woman attended my lectures who desired marriage. She had dated occasionally, but had never found a relationship that promised permanence. After hearing me speak on the law of assumption, she began to imagine herself as a happily married woman. Each night before sleep, she would remove from her imagination her single bed in her small apartment and replace it with a larger bed which she shared with her husband. She would fall asleep, feeling his presence beside her, feeling the weight of a wedding ring on her finger, hearing his breathing in the darkness. During the day, she would pause occasionally and look at her left hand, seeing in imagination the gold band that signified her marriage. She would answer the telephone in her imagination with her married name. In her conversations with friends, she would hear herself being addressed as a married woman, and she would feel the naturalness of this state. Within 3 months, she met a man who felt strangely familiar to her, as though she had known him all her life. Their courtship was brief but certain, and within a year of beginning her experiment in consciousness, she was married. The fascinating aspect of this story is that her husband physically resembled the man she had imagined, though she had never consciously constructed his appearance, and their bedroom contained a bed remarkably similar to the one she had imagined. What happened? Did she create her husband through some magical power? No, she entered a state, the state of being happily married, merely existed as a living reality. Her consistent assumption drew to her the circumstances, events, and people necessary for its outer expression. Now, some of you might be thinking this all sounds wonderful, but what about my negative thoughts and doubts? How do I overcome these? This is an important question. Your mind may indeed rebel against your new assumption. It may present evidence from your past or present circumstances that seems to contradict your desired state. This is natural and to be expected. The conscious mind is bound by the evidence of the senses and will initially resist what appears to be a denial of facts. Do not fight these thoughts or try to suppress them. Instead, gently bring your attention back to the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Each time doubt arises, acknowledge it without emotion. Then return to the assumption that your desire is already a reality. It is not the absence of doubts that leads to success, but the ability to persist despite them. Remember, the subconscious mind, which is the creative power, accepts what you consciously assume to be true. It does not argue a question. It simply acts on your dominant impression. By consistently returning to the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you impress this feeling upon the subconscious until it becomes the dominant feeling. This brings us to a profound truth. Relaxation is essential to the successful use of imagination. When you are tense, anxious, or striving, you close the door to your subconscious. Your assumption must be offered in a state of relaxation for it to be accepted and expressed. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and planted in his field. Your assumption, the feeling of your wish fulfilled, is the mustard seed. It contains within it everything necessary for its full expression. But this seed must be planted in the fertile soil of a relaxed consciousness. How do you achieve this relaxation? Begin by physically relaxing your body. Find a comfortable position where you can remain without movement. Close your eyes and breathe deeply and naturally. Feel each part of your body releasing tension. Now mentally let go of all concerns, all problems, all unfinished business. For this period of imagination, set aside the claims of the outer world. In this state of physical and mental relaxation, you are receptive to new impressions. Now, gently assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Do not strain to make it real. Simply accept it as real. Feel the naturalness, the of course-ness of having what you desire. Many fail in their use of imagination because they try too hard. They strain to visualize clearly or to feel intensely, creating tension that blocks the natural creative process. Imagination works best in a state of relaxed attention alert, but not tense, focused, but not strained. Consider how you remember a pleasant experience from your past. You don't strain to recall it. You simply turn your attention to it, and it unfolds naturally in your consciousness. So it should be with imagining your desire fulfilled. Turn your relaxed attention to it, and let it reveal itself to you. This brings us to another vital aspect of successful imagining, the use of sleep. As you fall asleep, your conscious mind becomes less active and your subconscious becomes more receptive. This is why Scripture advises, commune with your own heart upon your bed and be still. The moments before sleep are ideal for impressing your desire upon the subconscious. As you drift into slumber, maintain the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Let it be the final impression of the day. Your subconscious will work on this impression throughout the night, integrating it into your consciousness and orchestrating the outer events necessary for its manifestation. Now you might ask, what if I fall asleep before I can fully establish the feeling? Do not worry. The mere intention to fall asleep while holding the feeling is sufficient to initiate the process. With practice, you will find yourself naturally maintaining the feeling as you transition into sleep. Another question commonly asked is, how specific should my imaginary act be? The answer depends on what feels most natural to you. Some find it effective to construct detailed scenes that imply the fulfillment of their desire. Others prefer to focus on the pure feeling of the wish fulfilled without specific details. For example, if your desire is for financial abundance, you might imagine a specific scene, such as looking at a bank statement showing a large balance or receiving congratulations from a friend on your prosperity. Alternatively, you might simply capture the feeling of financial security and freedom, the sense of confidence and peace that comes with abundance. Both approaches are valid. The key is to choose the method that most easily induces the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Remember, it is the feeling that is impressed upon the subconscious, not the details of the scene. This brings us to a crucial distinction, the difference between wishing and assuming. When you wish for something, you place it outside yourself as an object to be obtained in the future. You affirm its absence in your present experience. But when you assume something, you appropriate it as a present fact. You claim it as your own here and now. The Bible states, whatever you desire when you pray, believe that you have received it and you will. Note the tense, not you will receive it, but you have received it. This is the secret of effective prayer, to claim in the present what seems to exist only in the future. This concept may seem abstract, but it is actually quite practical. Your present circumstances were created by your past assumptions. They appear solid and unchangeable only because they are the outpicturing of what you previously accepted as real. By changing your assumptions now, you initiate a new sequence of events that will replace the current circumstances with new ones reflecting your new assumption. Let me illustrate this with another experience. A man who attended my lectures was employed in a position far below his capabilities. He had been with the same company for 12 years with minimal advancement. His income was insufficient for his needs, and he felt trapped and unappreciated. After hearing my talks on the law of assumption, he decided to revise his concept of himself and his relationship to his work. Each day, he would find a quiet place during his lunch break, close his eyes, and then end in his superior congratulating him on his outstanding contribution to the company. He would hear the words clearly, feel the handshake, and experience the pride of recognition. Furthermore, each night before sleep, he would construct a scene implying an increase in income. He chose to imagine looking at his bank deposit slip and seeing a figure twice his current salary. He would feel the paper in his hands, see the amount clearly, and experience the satisfaction of financial increase. For several weeks, nothing changed externally, but he persisted in his assumption. Then events began to unfold in a remarkable way. A reorganization was announced in his company. His department was restructured, and he was assigned new responsibilities. Within 2 months, he was promoted to a management position with a salary slightly higher than the one he had imagined. Now, here's an interesting point. The specific scene he had imagined his superior congratulating him never occurred exactly as he had visualized it. Yet the essence of his desire, recognition, and financial increase was fully realized. This demonstrates an important principle. The outer conditions may not match your imaginal scene exactly, but they will faithfully reflect the essential feeling of your assumption. This is why I emphasize feeling rather than visualization. Some people struggle to create clear visual images, leading them to believe they cannot effectively use their imagination, but clear visualization is not necessary. What is essential is the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Even without clear pictures, you can capture the feeling of having what you desire, and this feeling impressed upon the subconscious will express itself in your outer experience. Now let's address a concern that troubles many, the apparent delay between the inner assumption and the outer manifestation. You may have faithfully assumed the feeling of your wish fulfilled, yet your senses continue to report the old conditions. This seeming contradiction can shake your faith in the law. Remember, the time lag is not a failure of the law, but its normal operation. Just as a seed planted in the ground requires time to germinate and grow before it appears above the surface. So, your assumption requires time to develop through the medium of natural events. During this interval between your inner assumption and its outer manifestation, you may experience what I call science, following subtle indications that the law is at work. You might overhear a conversation relating to your desire, receive information that supports your new state, or experience a shift in your own attitudes and reactions. These signs should be acknowledged as confirmation that your assumption is bearing fruit. However, do not make the mistake of looking for science as proof that the law is working. Such seeking implies doubt and affirms the absence of your desire in the present. Instead, maintain your faithful assumption, knowing that the outer confirmation must come in its own time and way. One of the most powerful aspects of the law of assumption is that it frees you from dependency on others. The conventional belief is that you must influence or change others to achieve your goals. If you desire promotion, you must impress your superior. If you desire love, you must attract and convince a specific person to love you. If you desire increased sales, you must persuade more customers to buy. But the law of assumption reverses this process. Instead of trying to change others, you change yourself, your concept of self, and your assumptions about reality. From this changed consciousness, others respond differently to you. Your superior recognizes your value, not because you have manipulated him, but because you have assumed the state of consciousness to which recognition is a natural response. Customers are attracted to your product, not because you have convinced them, but because you have assumed the consciousness of success to which increased sales are the natural outcome. Draw nigh to God, and He will draw nigh to you. God in this context is your own wonderful I am, your consciousness of being. As you draw nigh to the feeling of being what you desire to be, that state draws nigh to you, expressing itself through the appropriate channels and individuals without your conscious orchestra of events. This understanding should bring you great peace. You need not worry about how your desire will be fulfilled or who will help fulfill it. Your task is simply to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and to persist in that assumption. The infinite wisdom within you will arrange the means, methods of expression. Now let me address a question that is often asked. What about the desires of others? If I assume a state that involves someone else, am I not manipulating them or interfering with their free will? This question arises from a misunderstanding of consciousness. There is only one consciousness individualized in all of us. When you assume a state involving another, you are not manipulating a separate being, but shifting your relationship with an aspect of the one consciousness. Let me clarify this with an example. If you desire a harmonious relationship with someone who currently appears hostile or indifferent, you would assume the feeling of friendship and cooperation with that person. You would imagine conversations characterized by mutual respect and understanding. You would feel the naturalness of a pleasant relationship. Are you thereby forcing the other person to change? No. You are changing your conception of the relationship, and the other person, being part of the one consciousness, will reflect this change. They may never know that you have done any inner work. They will simply find themselves responding to you differently as if by their own volition. This principle applies to all relationships, personal, professional, and casual. By assuming the state of consciousness to which your desired relationship is the normal response, you allow others to express the highest within them in relation to you. Far from manipulating them, you are giving them the freedom to rise above the limitations of past interactions. Now, a word about detachment. Many spiritual teachings emphasize the importance of detachment from desires, leading some to believe that having strong desires is somehow wrong or unspiritual. This is a misunderstanding of true detachment. Detachment does not mean lack of desire or suppression of desire. It means detachment from the means of fulfillment and from anxiety about results. You should have a clear desire, know exactly what you want, and feel the fulfillment of that desire intensely. But you should be detached from how it will come about and when it will appear in your three-dimensional reality. In other words, be focused on the what, but flexible about the how and when. This combination of definite desire and relaxed detachment creates the ideal condition for manifestation. Finally, let us consider the role of gratitude in the creative process. Gratitude is not merely a virtue or a pleasant emotion. It is a powerful creative force. When you express gratitude for what you have, you acknowledge the fulfillment of desire, placing yourself in the position of having received. More importantly, when you express gratitude for what you desire, as though you have already received it, you affirm its presence in your life. You close the gap between wanting and having. Gratitude for what is yet to appear in the outer world is the ultimate expression of faith in the law. The Bible states, "Praise God from whom all blessings flow." To praise is to acknowledge, to affirm, to express appreciation for. As you praise and give thanks for your desires already fulfilled, you accelerate its manifestation in your visible world. I encourage you to make gratitude a daily practice. Each morning upon waking and each night before sleeping, give thanks for the fulfillment of your desires. Speak of them as present facts. Acknowledge them as already received and feel the joy of possession. This practice alone, if faithfully maintained, will transform your life. Now, let me address a common concern. What if I have multiple desires? Should I focus on all of them or just one? While it is possible to fulfill multiple desires simultaneously, most people find it more effective to focus primarily on one significant desire at a time, especially when first applying these principles. This concentrated attention allows the feeling of fulfillment to become more vivid and convincing. Choose the desire that when fulfilled would bring you the greatest satisfaction or would naturally include or lead to other desires. For example, a desire for a fulfilling career might naturally include financial abundance, creative expression, and meaningful relationships. Once you have selected your primary desire, give it your attention during your dedicated periods of imagination. However, if other desires arise naturally throughout the day, acknowledge them briefly in the state of fulfillment. A momentary feeling of thank you that this too is fulfilled is sufficient. As you become more practiced in the art of assumption, You will find yourself naturally maintaining multiple assumptions simultaneously, just as a skilled clans can play different melodies with each hand. But in the beginning, simplicity and focus are your allies. Now, I must address the question of action. Some who hear these teachings mistakenly believe that physical action is unnecessary, that they need only imagine and then wait for their desire to appear. This is a misunderstanding of the law. Imagination initiates the creative process, but it does not eliminate action. It inspires and directs action. When you truly assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you naturally take actions consistent with your assumption. These actions are not forced or planned. They flow spontaneously from your changed consciousness. For example, if you assume wealth, you may find yourself more attentive to investment opportunities, more confident in requesting a raise, or more inspired to create a valuable product or service. These actions are not the cause of your wealth, but the expressions of your consciousness of wealth. The difference between action initiated by your assumption and action initiated by anxiety is vast. The first is inspired, effortless, and effective. The second is strained, difficult, and often fruitless. When action flows from the consciousness of already having what you desire, it has a kind of magic to it. Doors open, circumstances arrange themselves favorably, and seeming obstacles become stepping stones. So do not fear action or avoid it. Simply ensure that your action springs from your assumption, rather than from a desire to make your assumption true. The subtle distinction is this: you act because your desire is fulfilled, not in order to fulfill your desire. This brings us to a profound truth. The law of assumption transcends all other laws. Physical laws, economic laws, social laws all operate within the framework of your consciousness. Change your consciousness, and you change the operation of all lesser laws. If you assume poverty, the economic laws work to keep you poor regardless of how hard you work or how much knowledge you acquire. If you assume wealth, these same laws work to bring you prosperity, often through unexpected channels and with minimal effort on your part. This is what Scripture means by "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." The kingdom is your consciousness, and righteousness is the right use of consciousness through assumption. When you place consciousness first, when you faithfully assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, all other things arrange themselves accordingly. I urge you not to make the common mistake of relegating these principles to the realm of theory or philosophy. They are intensely practical, and when applied, produce definite results in your experience. Do not say, "These are beautiful ideas, and someday I will try them." Begin now with whatever desire is most present in your awareness. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, select a desire, something you truly want to be, to do, or to have. Construct a simple scene that would imply the fulfillment of this desire. Perhaps a friend congratulating you, or a glimpse of a document or object that would confirm your achievement. Make it simple, brief, and natural. Now, as you lie in bed, close your eyes and relax completely. Feel your body releasing all tension. Let your mind become quiet, gently setting aside the concerns of the day. In this relaxed state, bring your scene before your mind's eye. Enter it fully as though it were happening now. See what you would see, hear what you would hear, feel what you would feel. Let the reality of it impress itself upon you. If your mind wanders or doubts arise, gently bring your attention back to the scene. Do not force it, simply return to it as you would to a pleasant memory. Continue until the scene feels natural, until you have the sense of, "Yes, this is so." Then release the scene and drift to sleep, knowing that what you have experienced in imagination is now a fact in consciousness that must express itself in your outer world. The seed has been planted, your subconscious will now work faithfully to bring it to flower. In the days that follow, maintain the sense of your wish fulfilled. When doubts or contradictory evidence appears, do not fight or resist, simply return, in your feeling and imagination, to the consciousness of fulfillment. Let your assumption be more real to you than the evidence of your senses. Remember, what you are doing is not creating something new, but claiming what already exists in the dimension of fulfilled desires. You are not working to make something happen. You are appropriating what is already accomplished. This is why you can relax and receive, knowing that your future is now. The great secret is this: there is only the present moment. The past exists only in memory, the future only in imagination. Both are expressions of your present consciousness. As you change your consciousness now through the art of assumption, you change both your conception of the past and your experience of the future. Behold, I make all things new. This creative power is yours now, this very moment. Through your human imagination, which is God in operation, you can transcend time, select any state of consciousness, and bring it into your present experience. So I say to you, the future you desire is not remote or uncertain. It is now available to you through the simple act of assumption. Relax your anxious striving, your doubt, your concern for how and when. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and in a way that no one knows, in a time that no one can predict. Your assumption will harden into fact. I have shared these principles with thousands over many years, and I have seen life transform beyond recognition. Not through struggle, not through manipulation of others, not through complex strategies or systems, but through the faithful application of the law of assumption. What has worked for others will work for you, for the law is no respecter of persons. It responds with mathematical precision to the consciousness of all who apply it. In concluding our discussion tonight, I urge you to test these principles in your own experience. Do not take my word for it, prove it to yourself. Select a desire, assume its fulfillment, and watch as the seemingly solid world of appearance reshapes itself to match your assumption. And remember, the most challenging part of this practice is not the technique of health, but maintaining your assumption in the face of contrary evidence. The world will present you with facts that seem to deny your assumption. Your senses will report conditions that contradict your chosen state. This is the testing point, the place where faith is refined and strengthened. Stand firm in your assumption. Know that what you are experiencing in imagination is more real, more substantial, and more powerful than what your senses report. The outer world must conform to your inner conviction. It has no choice, for it is only the shadow of your consciousness. You stand at a threshold of infinite possibility. The door to any state of consciousness is open to you. Through your imagination, you can enter any room in your Father's house. Claim it as your own and make it your dwelling place. The future of your dreams is not a distant hope. It is a present reality awaiting your recognition and acceptance. Relax and receive what is already yours. The future is now. You are the operant power in your world. You and you alone are the architect of your life experiences. The world you see around you, with all its joys and sorrows, triumphs and challenges, is but an outward reflection of your inner state of consciousness. It is a mirror faithfully reflecting back to you the sum total of your beliefs, assumptions, and imaginal acts. Now you might ask, but Wayne, how can this be? Surely the world exists independently of my thoughts and feelings. To this I say, the world as you perceive it exists nowhere but in your consciousness. Your senses may tell you otherwise, may insist on the solidity and unchangeable nature of your circumstances, but I tell you this is an illusion, a shadow cast by the light of your own imagination. Consider for a moment, when you dream at night, do you not experience a world that feels every bit as real as your waking life? Do you not interact with people, places, and situations that seem to exist independently of your will? And yet, upon waking, you recognize that entire world was created within your own mind. So too is it with what you call your waking reality. The great secret then is this: your imagination is the very workshop in which you forge your life experiences. Every event, every circumstance, every person in your life is there because you have imagined them into being, whether consciously or unconsciously. This is the true meaning of the biblical phrase, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." But let us delve deeper into this truth. When we speak of focusing on yourself and your dreams, we are not talking about mere positive thinking or wishful daydreaming. No, we are speaking of a far more potent and transformative practice, the art of living from the end. To live from the end means to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. It means to enter in your imagination into the state of consciousness you would occupy if your desire were already a present fact. This is not about visualizing a future event, but about experiencing here and now the reality of your fulfilled desire. Let me give you an example to illustrate this principle. Suppose you desire financial abundance. The common approach would be to focus on the process of acquiring wealth, working harder, saving more, investing wisely. But this approach keeps you rooted in the consciousness of lack, of not yet having what you desire. Instead, I urge you to ask yourself, how would I feel if I motioned financially abundant? What would my inner conversations be like? How would I carry myself? What thoughts would occupy my mind throughout the day? Then, having identified these feelings and states of mind, your task is to assume them now low in your present reality. You see, my dear friends, the secret is not to think about your desire, but to think from the state of its fulfillment. This is the true meaning of prayer. Not beseeching an external deity for favors, but aligning your consciousness with the reality you wish to experience. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Wayne, this sounds like self-deception. How can I feel wealthy when my bank account tells me otherwise? To this I say, your senses show you only the effects, never the causes of your reality. By persisting in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are operating on the causal level of existence, and the outer world must, by law, reorganize itself to match your new inner state. Remember, consciousness is the only reality. What you are conscious of being, you are. And what you are, you create. This is the true meaning of the biblical injunction to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. By renewing your mind, that is, by consistently assuming the state of consciousness of your wish fulfilled, you transform your entire world. But let us be clear, this is not about escaping reality or denying your present circumstances. It is about understanding the true nature of reality as a malleable, responsive substance that conforms to your dominant mental states. It is about recognizing your power as a creative being and wielding that power consciously and deliberately. Now, you might ask, how do I begin this practice of living from the end? How do I focus on myself and my dreams in this way? The answer lies in the use of your imagination, that divine gift that sets you apart as a creative being in this universe. Each night, as you lay your head upon your pillow, I want you to enter a state of relaxation. Let the cares and concerns of your day fall away. Then, with your inner eye, construct a scene that implies the fulfillment of your desire. Make it as vivid and as real as you possibly can. Engage all your senses in this imaginal act. If your desire is for a loving relationship, feel the warmth of your beloved's embrace. Hear their voice whispering words of affection. Smell their familiar scent. Make the scene as real and as natural as any memory of an actual event. If your dream is a professional success, see yourself in your ideal work environment. Feel the satisfaction of a job well done. Hear the congratulations of your colleagues. Experience the pride and fulfillment of living your purpose. Whatever your desire may be, construct a scene that implies its fulfillment. Then enter into that scene. Do not watch it as a spectator, but participate in it fully. Be there in your imagination, experiencing the joy and satisfaction of your wish fulfilled. As you fall asleep, carry this feeling with you. Let it be the last thing in your consciousness as you drift off to slumber. For in sleep, when your conscious mind is at rest, these impressions sink deep into your subconscious, the fertile soil from which all your future experiences will grow. But do not limit this practice to your nighttime reveries. Throughout your day, whenever you are in a quiet moment, return to the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Let it color your mood, influence your posture, inform your inner conversations. Remember, my friends, your inner conversations are incredibly powerful. They are the backdrop against which your life unfolds. Most people carry on these inner dialogues unconsciously, rehashing past hurts or worrying about future problems. But you, armed with this knowledge, can consciously direct your inner talking to align with your desires. If you desire health, do not engage in inner conversations about illness or weakness. Instead, hear yourself saying, I am vibrantly healthy and full of energy. If you seek financial abundance, let your inner bondage declare, I am abundantly provided for in every way. These inner conversations, persistently maintained, will transform your world. For whatever you consent to in your mind whatever you feel to be true, must outpicture itself in your reality. This is the law of your being, as unalterable as any law of physics. Now, some of you may be wondering, but what about action? Surely we must do something in the outer world to realize our dreams. To this, I say, inspired action will flow naturally from your assumed state. When you truly live in the end, when you fully embody the consciousness of your wish fulfilled, you will find yourself naturally and effortlessly taking the steps that lead to its manifestation. This is the meaning of biblical phrase, the vision has its own appointed hour. It ripens, it will flower. If it be long, then wait, for it is sure and it will not be late. Your only task is to hold fast to the vision, to persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The how, the when, and the where of its manifestation are not your concern. Trust in the perfect unfolding of your desire, guided by a wisdom far greater than your own. Let me share with you a personal experience to illustrate this principle. Many years ago, when I first arrived in New York City, I had the burning desire to speak at town hall. Now, at that time, I was unknown, with no connections and no apparent means of realizing this dream. But instead of focusing on these seeming obstacles, I chose to live from the end. Each night, as I fell asleep, I would imagine myself standing on the stage at town hall. I felt the solid wood beneath my feet. I saw the sea of faces before me, heard the rustle of the audience, felt the satisfaction of sharing my message to eager listeners. I lived in this state, feeling it to be true, despite all evidence to the contrary in my waking hours. And then, my friends, the outer world began to conform to this inner conviction. Within a matter of weeks, through a series of events that seemed entirely accidental, I found myself invited to speak at town hall. The very scene one had enacted in my imagination came to pass in the outer world, down to the smallest detail. This, my dear friends, is the power that lies within you. This is the creative force of your own wonderful human imagination. It is not limited by your past experiences, your current circumstances, or the opinions of others. It is bound only by your capacity to believe in the reality of your imaginal acts. Now, let us address a common concern that arises when people first encounter these teachings. Many worry that by focusing on themselves and their own desires, they are being selfish or neglecting their duties to others. Nothing could be further from the truth. You see, my friends, you cannot give what you do not have. By focusing on your own growth, your own dreams, your own expansion, you are increasing your capacity to be of service to others. As you transform your own consciousness, you elevate the consciousness of all those around you. Remember the words of the Master. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. The kingdom of God is not a place in space or time, but a state of consciousness. It is the state of knowing yourself to be one with the creative power of the universe. When you seek this state first, when you prioritize the alignment of your consciousness with your desires, everything else falls naturally into place. Moreover, as you begin to experience the fruits of this practice in your own life, you become a living testament to the power of imagination. Your very being becomes an inspiration to others, showing them what is possible when one takes control of their inner world. But let me caution you, this work requires persistence and faith. You may not see immediate results in your outer world. The seed you plant in your imagination needs time to germinate and grow. During this period, you may face doubts, both from within yourself and from others. This is where the real test of your faith comes in. Can you persist in the feeling of your wish fulfilled even when your senses deny it? Can you remain loyal to your vision even when the outer world seems to contradict it? This is the mark of a true master of fate. Remember the biblical story of Abraham, who was promised countless descendants when he was old and childless. Against all odds, against all evidence of his senses, he persisted in his faith. He dared to believe in the reality of that which was not yet manifest. And in due time, his faith was rewarded. So, too, must you persist in your imaginal acts, in your assumption of the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Do not waver, do not doubt, do not give in to the temptation to judge by appearances. Hold fast to your vision, knowing that what you are conscious of being, you must become. Now, let us delve deeper into the mechanics of this practice. When you focus on yourself and your dreams in the way I'm describing, you are engaging in a profound act of self-love and self-respect. You are declaring to the universe, and more importantly to your own subconscious mind, that you are worthy of your desires. This act of self-affirmation is crucial. Many people sabotage their own success because deep down, they do not believe they deserve it. They may go through the motions of pursuing their dreams, but their inner conviction tells a different story. By consistently assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are reprogramming your subconscious mind. You are overriding old patterns of lack, limitation, and unworthiness with new patterns of abundance, possibility, and deservingness. This is why it's so important to make your imaginal acts as vivid and as real as possible. Your subconscious mind does not distinguish between what you vividly imagine and what you actually experience in the outer world. By presenting it with vivid, persistent images of your desired reality, you are training it to accept this new reality as fact. And once your subconscious accepts something as fact, it works tirelessly to bring it into manifestation. It influences your perceptions, your decisions, your actions, all to align with this new accepted reality. This is the power of your subconscious mind, and by learning to work with it rather than against it, you unlock truly limitless potential. But remember, my friends, this is not about forcing or straining. The kingdom of heaven is not taken by violence. Your imaginal acts should be playful, joyful, natural. They should feel like slipping into a comfortable, familiar state rather than an arduous exercise of will. Think of a child at play, fully immersed in their imaginary world. They do not doubt the reality of their imaginings. They do not strain to believe. They simply are what they imagine themselves to be, fully and without reservation. This is the state you must cultivate in your own imaginal work. Now, some of you may be wondering about the role of action in this process. Surely, you might think I can't just sit around imagining all day. Don't I need to do something to make my dreams a reality? To this I say, right action will flow naturally from your assumed state. When you truly live in the end, when you fully embody the state of your wish fulfilled, you will find yourself naturally inspired to take the steps lead to its manifestation. These actions will not feel like hard work or struggle. They will feel natural efforts, almost inevitable. You will find yourself in the right place at the right time, saying the right words, making the right decisions, all as a natural outflow of your assumed state. This is the true meaning of the phrase, "the signs follow." They do not precede. The outer actions are not the cause of your success, but the effect of your inner transformation. They are the shadow cast by the light of your imagination. Let me give you another example from my own life to illustrate this principle. When I first began giving lectures on these truths, I had a deep desire to reach a wider audience. I imagined myself speaking to large crowds, sharing these teachings with people from all walks of life. Now, I did not go out and frantically advertise or promote myself. I did not strain or struggle to make this happen. Instead, I lived from the end. In my imagination, I saw myself standing before packed auditoriums. I felt the joy of sharing these truths with eager listeners. I experienced the satisfaction of knowing my message was reaching and transforming lives. And then, my friends, the outer world began to conform to this inner conviction. Opportunities began to present themselves. Invitations to speak at larger venues started to come in. People began to spread the word about my lectures. All of this happened naturally, effortlessly, as a result of my inner work. This is the power that lies within you, my dear friends. This is the creative force of your own wonderful human imagination. It is not limited by your past experiences, your current circumstances, or the opinions of others. It is bound only by your capacity to believe in the reality of your imaginal acts. Now, let us address another common concern that arises when people first encounter these teachings. Many worry about the ethical implications of this practice. They ask if I can imagine anything into being. What's to stop me from using this power for selfish or harmful ends? To this, I say, the very nature of this practice precludes its misuse. For when you truly enter into the state of your wish fulfilled, when you fully embody the consciousness of your desire, you are aligning yourself with the highest good. You see, my friends, at the deepest level of our being, we all desire the same things: love, joy, peace, fulfillment. When you imagine from this place of your highest self, you naturally align with these universal desires. Your imaginings become not just for your own benefit, but for the benefit of all. Moreover, as you practice this art of imagining, you will find your desires naturally refining themselves. What once seemed important may fall away as you connect more deeply with your true self. Your imaginings will become purer, more aligned with your highest good and the highest good of all. This is the true meaning of the phrase, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." As you align your consciousness with your highest self, with the creative power of the universe, everything else falls naturally into place. Now, my friends, I want to address a question that often arises when I share these teachings. People ask, "But Wayne, what about the suffering in the world? What about those who are oppressed, impoverished, or ill?" Are you saying they have imagined this for themselves? This is a profound question, and it deserves a thoughtful answer. First, let me be clear, this teaching is not about blame or judgment. It is about empowerment. It is about recognizing the creative power that lies within each of us and learning to use it consciously. You see, most people are not aware of the power of their imagination. They do not realize that their inner assumptions and beliefs are shaping their outer reality. They are imagining unconsciously, often focusing on what they fear or what they lack, rather than on what they desire. Moreover, we are all influenced by the collective consciousness of our society, our culture, our time. Many of the limitations and sufferings we experience are the result of collectively held beliefs and assumptions. But here's the wonderful truth. Just as we have imagined these conditions into being, we can imagine something different. We can change our individual consciousness, and in doing so contribute to changing the collective consciousness. This is the true meaning of being the change you wish to see in the world. By focusing on yourself, by imagining a better reality for yourself, you are not being selfish. You are contributing to the elevation of all humanity. You are adding your light to the sum of light. Remember, my friends, consciousness is the only reality. The world you see around you is a reflection of consciousness, both individual and collective. By changing your consciousness, by persistently imagining a better reality, you are literally changing the world. This work of imagination is not separate from practical action in the world. Rather, it informs and inspires that action. When you live from the state of your wish fulfilled, you will find yourself naturally taking the steps that lead to its manifestation. You will be guided by an inner wisdom that far surpasses mere intellect. So I urge you, my dear friends, to take up this practice with all seriousness. Make it the central focus of your life. Every night as you fall asleep, and every morning as you wake, enter into the state of your wish fulfilled. Feel it, live it, believe in it with all your heart. Throughout your day, whenever you have a quiet moment, return to this state. Let it inform your thoughts, your words, your actions. Let it become the new normal for you. For what you persist in imagining, you must eventually experience. Remember, the time it takes for your imaginal act to become your physical reality is directly proportionate to the naturalness of the state. The more natural it feels to you, the more quickly it will manifest. This is why persistence is key. You are forming new neural pathways, new patterns of thought and feeling. In closing, I want to remind you of this fundamental truth. You are the operant power in your world. Your consciousness is the creative force that shapes your reality. By focusing on yourself and your dreams, by living from the state of your wish fulfilled, you are stepping into your true power as a creative being. Go forth then and create boldly. Imagine lovingly. Live fully in the consciousness of your fulfilled desires. For in doing so, you are not only transforming your own life, but contributing to the transformation of all humanity. You are fulfilling your divine purpose as a co-creator in this magnificent universe. Thank you, and may your imagination guide you to the fulfillment of all your dreams.